What if I told you that right now you are exactly where you have chosen to be, either consciously or by default? Because even in not choosing to do something is a choice. In this installment, I want to talk to you about the power of choice, the power of choosing and not thinking that you are a victim of circumstance. The fact is that every decision that you make to do or not to do something determines where you will be in your life at any given time. Where you are now is the result of all of the small decisions and choices that you have made to do or not to do something. It is a result of all the decisions that you have made to move against your comfort zone or to stay within your area of comfort. Every surrender, small surrender that you have made is a choice that has led to certain consequences. You see, most of us ignore this God-given blessing of the power of choice. In the church, they call it free will. Nevertheless, it comes down to the fact that you are responsible for creating the life that you want. And right now, if you look back on your life, all of the choices that you made to do or not to do something has brought you to where you are now. The idea is that to move in the direction of growth is a choice, but it is a choice that goes against the comfort zone. You have to be willing to do what is difficult, to face a fear and move beyond that fear in order to grow. And this becomes a choice. In fact, the classic poem on choice was written by Robert Frost, The Road Less Traveled By. Now I'm going to paraphrase this because I don't have the poem right here in front of me. But it went something like, two roads converged in a wood, and one road was very well traveled, and the other road was less trodden by. I chose the road that was less trodden by, and that made all of the difference. Now, the symbol and the metaphor of this is that the majority of people take the easy road. The majority of people take the comfort zone road, and that's the road that is most trodden. That's where you're going to find most of the footprints. The majority of the population is going to go in the area where they don't have to go against their comfort zone, face their fears, and to grow. This is where you're going to see the majority of people traveling. The road that is less traveled by is the road where the person chooses and decides difficulty over comfort. The person that decides to face their fear, overcome the fear, and grow from it. These people are in the smaller sector of the world population, and therefore the percentage of people who choose to grow beyond their comfort zones are much fewer in number. Therefore, this road is less trodden by. But trotting on the road to growth will make all of the difference. This is what Robert Frost meant with this particular poem. Now, the thing is that we overlook the fact that the power of choice determines all of our experiences. And many times we believe that something exists that is absent from thought. That is, what I'm trying to say is, sometimes we believe that things happen to us in the absence of choice. Let me take one of my favorite subjects. When people say that they love someone, in romantic situations, this is mostly a fiction, because a romantic relationship involves not what I call true love, and I'm going to explain this in a moment, but involves an exchange of benefits, an exchange of interest. In fact, when most people say, I love you, they're really saying, after they say I love you, is I love you as long as you don't piss me off. I love you as long as you give me all of the things that I'm expecting from you. I love you as long as you don't disappoint me when I ask you for something that I desire. So these romantic I love yous are generally conditional, and they involve you give me some of this and I'll give you some of that. When it's funny, I learned the true meaning of love in a relationship not from all of the books on psychology that I read in graduate school, but from a taxi cab driver when here in Columbia, when one day he was taking me to an appointment, and he said, love is not an emotion, love is a decision. And I went, wow, that's deep. That is really deep. And the reason why it was so deep is because true love is a decision. It's a choice. For example, if a person is misbehaving, or if a person demonstrates a flaw or something that you don't like, to love that person would be to be patient, make allowances, and choose to forgive the person. So love in its truest sense is a choice. You choose to love a person in spite of their mistakes. You choose to forgive a person when they do wrong. You choose to continue with someone when you see that there's still hope. It has nothing to do with feeling emotion and reaction to what a person says or does romantically. Romantic love is pretty much like going to Disneyland. It's a stimulus variation of sensations. You enjoy the fantasy, but once you leave out of the park, you go back to reality and you accept what reality is. In the same sense, it's okay to be romantic in a relationship with someone, but you need to understand that this is a fiction and that it's pretty much like Disneyland, because anybody can create a romantic environment, even even a very dishonest person can create a romantic environment by choosing the right music, the right restaurant, the right food, the right ambience, flowers, and all of these other accoutrements that create the romantic atmosphere. But this is just somebody who's skilled in creating ambience. It has nothing to do with the fact that this person may probably love the other, because loving another person is a choice. It's a choice to see who the person is in their complexity and to love them anyway. So true love is a choice. It is not an emotion. It's just not something that you feel. So that what I am saying is that once you take responsibility for your life and see that every decision that you make or every lack of decision that you make is still a choice, because not choosing to do something that you know that you should do is still a choice. And life will always give you the result of your decisions and the result of your choices. Therefore, do not overlook your gift, the power of choosing your life and choosing who you want to be. Remember, when you choose growth over comfort, you're choosing the path of self-realization. So when you choose not to move beyond the comfort zone, you are choosing to stay where you are. And it is nothing that you can blame on anyone else. It is just the fact that you have not accepted and realized that your power to choose is what determines the consequences of your life. This reminds me one time my daughter, when she was in, I think it was 6th grade or 7th grade, there was a discussion by the teacher on how we should look at the poor. And this was a bleeding heart type of teacher who felt that the poor never deserved to be poor, and that we should just pour our hearts out in pity for everyone who is born into a situation of poverty. And then the teacher asked my daughter, well, what do you think about the poor and extending the compassion to the poor? And my daughter said, without blinking an eye, she says, well, a person who is born into poverty can't help that. But the decisions that that person makes thereafter will determine if they stay in poverty. This was deep, and it brought the house down. It brought the classroom into a different state of thinking, and it really upset the teacher's perspective, but she was so spot on that there was no counter argument to quelch the wisdom and the logic that my daughter had when she was in 6th grade. So again, what do you choose to do this day? Do you choose to go beyond your comfort zone? Do you choose discipline? Do you choose to do what you know that you must do instead of choosing what you feel like doing? Do you choose to allow your moods to dictate what you're going to do today? Or do you choose to go beyond your moods to feel the fear and do it anyway? All of this is choice. Your power to choose is not to be overlooked. And remember, you either choose consciously or you choose by default, by neglect, but that again still is a choice. So from this point on, know that you are the architect of your life by the daily choices that you make. As it is said in the Holy Bible, Joshua 24:14, choose you this day who you will serve. Will you serve comfort or will you serve growth? Will you serve discipline or will you serve stagnation? The choice is still yours. Choose you this day who you will serve. This is yours truly, Charles Prosper, wishing for you as always to stay consistent and be successful.